That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I am going to beat this into the ground. I just have to make sure everybody knows I am moving to Florida. If you want to come to an official flock meetup in Texas before I move, this is going to be the only shot. June 19th, 6 p.m. at Zilker Park. Yes, we changed the location because I'm a little bit worried more people than I expected were going to show up. So I want to make sure we're going somewhere where I know we do have enough space. We can get everybody there. So I'm expecting hopefully 10 plus, maybe 20 people there. That would be absolutely awesome. So please come through. It's going to be just a giant field if you've never gone to Zilker Park in Austin, Texas before. And essentially just be looking for me if you can. I'll be alongside a giant 100-pound white dog, so it's going to be probably easy to spot me. But yeah, please come out. And of course, I'll be keeping y'all updated on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, YouTube, whatever it is. Please, I want to meet as many of y'all as possible. But yeah, that's it. What we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be going through and talking J.K. Dobbins. And I know a lot of people are going to think this is because the recent Gus Edwards signing, and I'm sorry, Gus Edwards extension, probably shouldn't just say signing, but honestly, it's not because of that. More so, it's because at this time of the season, when you have this many best ball drafts underway, when you have this many high stakes redraft drafts under the way, whether it's the FFPC, whether it's whatever format, what we start to get now is some realistic and useful redraft ADP, where we can start to view what the high stakes redraft community thinks of these upcoming players' 2021 projections, and we can combine that with long-term outlooks to try to have a great grasp on what you should actually be looking for with the player's dynasty value. And I think here J.K. Dobbins simply doesn't add up. I mean, you dive into what it's most likely going to be looking like in 2021, and I think J.K. Dobbins is a player that I possibly want to be moving off of our dynasty teams. But of course, I'll be talking about for what. I'll be talking about what trades I want to see him in later on in the video. But before that, drop a like. Get us over 300 likes in the first 12 hours. That would be absolutely massive. Helps us reach new listeners, helps us continue to grow the channel. Leave a comment, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Let's get into it. Let's talk J.K. Dobbins, who right now in redraft leagues is going at pick 28. And now I understand a lot of people are going to be looking at that. They're going to go, Mason, that's a completely fair pick. And I agree. I mean, I think J.K. Dobbins, you're getting him in the late third round of a redraft league. I think that is a great pick. And really, if I'm there, I'm going to be taking him every single time. But for Dynasty, if we're talking his long-term outlook, he has been going in the second round of most startups, and I don't think that's fair. I think that there are other players in that range that I'd prefer to have. I think there are other trade packages I would rather have. Now we go through and we kind of complete this J.K. Dobbins profile and why I think that his investment in Dynasty doesn't necessarily make as much sense. And the first thing I need to admit is J.K. Dobbins, a fantastic running back prospect. I mean, if he was in this draft class, you could make the argument that J.K. Dobbins could have possibly been the running back one in this draft class from a pure prospect standpoint. So he's only 22 years old, came into the NFL draft last year at 21. He was drafted at the late second round behind Cam Akers, behind DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, there were so many talented running backs in last year's draft class. Here, J.K. Dobbins doesn't have prototypical bell cow size, which is something I want to point out because he's 5'10", 209 pounds. Now, most people, including myself, we were willing to overlook this last year with J.K. Dobbins as a prospect because you saw the usage that he had at Ohio State and you went, okay, well, I don't care that he doesn't necessarily meet the exact threshold that we want with his BMI. The usage was there where he's most likely still going to get used that way in the NFL because it's Ohio State. I mean, it's not like they didn't have other players there that could be touching the ball as well. And here, J.K. Dobbins, another thing you need to point out, literally a track star. I mean, some of the fastest speed you're going to be finding is on that Baltimore Ravens offense. J.K. Dobbins, no exception here. An elite speed trait that you're finding. Now you go to 2020, and I know a lot of people want to look at J.K. Dobbins, see that he averaged 6 yards per carry, which is absolutely ridiculous and at the very top of the NFL and what you're finding with running back efficiency. I'll say a few things here. Yards per carry, not a great metric by any standpoint to evaluate these running backs. I mean, so much of the running back position is dictated by situation, and knowing that he's playing alongside Lamar Jackson, understanding what Lamar Jackson does to opposing linebackers when he goes to hand the ball off, I mean, it's understandable that J.K. Dobbins does have that incredible yards per carry mark, but we go through and look at the rest of this. I mean, he averages 9 carries a game, a little over 1 reception a game, 61 total yards. And of course, he does that off great efficiency. But the production doesn't add up here. I mean, you go through and you look at what this equated to in fantasy points, and he was the running back 37 in points per game on the season. So he was a high-end running back 4 in points per game on the season. Now, I know what you really want to do with these rookie running backs is you want to try to find a split. You want to see if they're trending towards getting more usage at the end of the year. You want to make sure that they're heading in the right direction on what you would expect going into their sophomore season. Which, yeah, J.K. Dobbins does take a step up after his bye week. After his bye week, he actually jumps up to being the running back 27 in points per game, which makes him a good mark for being high in running back 3 in fantasy last year. I mean, this is someone that I was targeting in drafts, especially those redraft drafts last year when you could have got him in the 5th, 6th round in some of those. I thought that was fantastic value. Well, in reality, I mean, J.K. Dobbins was just a roster clogger the entire season. I know this is Dynasty, but please hear me out on this. Now, we go through and try to project how this is going to look this upcoming season. And I know a lot of people are going to be pointing at Mark Ingram leaving and assuming that's going to be a massive boom over there for J.K. Dobbins, which I'll say, yeah, it helps. But Mark Ingram didn't play a ton of games. I mean, Mark Ingram, it's not like he was there for all 16 games taking carries away from J.K. Dobbins. And while he was there, I mean, the production wasn't fantastic by any means. I mean, here he was averaging 6.5 carries a game, half a reception, 31 total yards, and he only had 2 total touchdowns on the entire season. So Mark Ingram leaving doesn't necessarily open up a ton of volume for this backfield. Now, Gus Edwards signs that extension. He's brought back through the 2023 season. So you're looking at J.K. Dobbins all of a sudden, and you're going, hey, this is a player that playing alongside Gus Edwards, he is most likely never going to be a 3-down running back. He is most likely never going to be seeing just 75% of the raw touches in this backfield. It's most likely going to be a 60 to 70% split where J.K. Dobbins is getting the majority of the work. But we have to ask ourselves, are those touches valuable? Because we know we talk about this all the time. What you need at the running back position in PPR formats is you need touches at the goal line, and you also need to make sure that they are getting targeted out of the backfield. And here, I think it's hard to say that with J.K. Dobbins for sure, because we know when you're playing alongside a highly effective rushing quarterback in a Lamar Jackson, while yes, it's going to boost your efficiency in your yards per carry because those opposing linebackers can't crash in when he has to hand the ball off, or he's just going to run around the edge with the read option. We understand that. But what you also have to understand is there are downsides to come with those rushing quarterbacks. Those downsides are they are going to be having a significantly lower percentage of those pass attempts being dump offs. I mean, you're never going to find someone like a Lamar Jackson targeting the running back position nearly as much as a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, a stationary quarterback where he goes through his progressions. I mean, he gets to the very end and he goes, hey, I have no other option but to get the ball to J.K. Dobbins right here. That's not going to happen, because what happens with one of these quarterbacks that has this elite mobility is they go through, they check their 1 or 2 progressions. I don't know how many progressions you think Lamar Jackson's going through. And then if that's not there, they go, hey, well, we are one of the best rushers in the entire league. Let's kind of just tuck it and run. Let's see if we can go to the edge, pick up the first down, because we know that's going to help my team probably more than me dumping it off to a J.K. Dobbins out of the backfield. So you're going to be expecting the targets to go down, which you've seen that with Lamar Jackson for the running backs over the past few years now. And what you also find is you find the Cam Newton effect. And that is at the goal line, you're going to have so many touchdowns vultured away from the rushing quarterback that the running back owner is just going to be getting pissed week in and week out. I mean, talk to the Kenyon Drake owner from last year with Kyler Murray at the beginning of the season, getting every single rushing touchdown at the goal line. Ask him how that felt, because I'll tell you, a Kyler Murray owner is going to look at that and go, hey, this is why I drafted Kyler Murray so high, because he can pick up these rushing touchdowns. But at the same time, the running back in the backfield, they're not getting points for that. I mean, they are just kind of left holding the bag and not getting the most valuable touch you can get in fantasy at the running back position. So for that reason, you're looking at J.K. Dobbins not necessarily having top access to the most valuable touches in fantasy. And it's not like the volume is going to be through the roof to the point where you can overset it with over 20 touches a game, because Gus Edwards is there through the 2023 season. And with the presence of Gus Edwards, this is most likely going to be a split backfield. So J.K. Dobbins, one of the best running backs in the NFL. I mean, one of the most efficient running backs, if not the most efficient running back in the NFL last year as a rookie. But even with him being the most efficient running back in the entire NFL last year, he was still not startable in fantasy. And while yes, he's going to progress, while yes, he is going to be a starting running back this upcoming season, what are you expecting? Him to be a running back too? I don't want to be investing, just say, a second round startup pick into a running back too, even if he is on his rookie contract. So no, I'm not interested in that with J.K. Dobbins. But if you're looking for trading options, the last thing I'm going to advise you to do is trade away J.K. Dobbins for a wide receiver. I mean, we have hit this over the head in Dynasty time and time and time again, that there is nothing more valuable in Dynasty than a player, more specifically, a running back that can handle all 3 down usage. Like we said, J.K. Dobbins, one of the best running back prospects that we have seen come out into the NFL over the past few years. Nothing is more valuable than a player like that on their rookie deal. So if you're going to be looking to trade away J.K. Dobbins, I don't want to be getting those wide receivers in return. I want to be pivoting over, and I want to be going to a different rookie running back. I want to be going to a different sophomore running back. I want to make sure we get someone that we like their own prospect profile, but they're in slightly better situations where maybe the fantasy production is going to be. So there are a few players that I want to highlight here as guys that I would safely have over J.K. Dobbins. Now, I know a lot of people are going to agree with us on these guys, but you only have to find one owner that's willing to make the switch. So I think it is fine to go through and try to make these trades. The first player is going to be Nashe Harris. So what's funny with Nashe Harris is a rookie who is older than J.K. Dobbins. I'll say that. You hate to see the Nashe Harris age for what that means for his fantasy hit rate historically, but regardless, this is someone going in the middle of the second round already in redraft leagues. So he's going in the middle of the second round. He has that size where we know this can be a player that's going to be a 3-down running back, 6'1", 232 pounds, first round draft pick in this year's class. And yeah, I mean, we've seen him be a workhorse at Alabama before, and I hate bringing this up so often, but I think something we got wrong, along with the entire rest of the Dynasty community at the beginning of the offseason, other people are still getting this wrong. We've learned from our mistakes by doing our research for that rookie draft guide months ago, but it's underestimating the receiving down capability for Nashe Harris. Now, Nashe Harris averaged 3.3 receptions his final season at Alabama. 19 carries as well, 145 total yards, but I don't want to focus in on that too much. I want to focus on his capability of being a receiving running back. Now, if you look at his college target share, which is going to be highly effective at predicting these running backs translating into the NFL with their receiving skill set, Nashe Harris not only passes the minimum threshold that we have established with that research done over there with the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, but he crushes that metric. And this is done in an offense with Devonta Smith, the best receiving season you have seen from an Alabama wide receiver ever. So Nashe Harris, I mean, his receiving profile coming into the NFL is not just adequate, but it is fantastic. So this is someone that is now going to a team that instead of competing for touches with a player like Gus Edwards, he's going to a depth chart that has Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Kalen Ballage. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about him losing touches really at all. So I'm completely fine going and making that pivot over. I mean, you look historically, and you've just seen Mike Tomlin give his running backs a full workload season after season after season. I mean, the last thing you're going to be expecting is a Mike Tomlin running back to be in a committee. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine switching over to J.K. Dobbins, and I would actually add a piece to go get Nashe Harris in a startup draft. So yeah, go from Dobbins to Harris if you can do that, but it's going to be a little bit harder to do so. There's no reason to be valuing a player that is currently going into year 2 higher than a rookie if that rookie is already being drafted significantly higher in redraft leagues. Now, let's pull up another player from that 2020 NFL draft class. Let's go over to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. With CEH, I'm going to keep this very simple. You're already viewing him as a late second redraft pick, already around ahead of J.K. Dobbins. And you look at the depth chart here, and he is competing for touches with nobody. I mean, Damian Williams gone to Chicago. I know Damian Williams held out last year or opted out, whatever you want to call it. But Le'Veon Bell gone as well. And I know a lot of people want to look at the Kansas City Chiefs and go, Mason, this is a team that's going to be passing the ball over and over and over again. There's no rushing production to be found here. Well, the Chiefs, after passing the ball over and over and over again, were 16th in the NFL in rushing yards. So that goes your theory on that. Now throw in the fact that this team is going to have more red zone opportunities, at least most likely, than any other team in the NFL. So you go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and you go, okay, he's an elite pass-catching running back. He's playing on a team that should most likely be the most productive offense in football. He goes through and checks every box that you look for from a running back prospect. He has the BMI at 32.4, even though I know he's a tiny running back with his size. I mean, he's only 5'7", but you look at that compared to him being 5'7" and 207 pounds compared to a J.K. Dobbins who is 5'10" and 209 pounds. I mean, I definitely prefer the size that you actually have with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though he's only 3 pounds lighter. So with CEH, I mean, last year he was also more productive than J.K. Dobbins. And I get this question more than any other question on live streams, on Patreon. I mean, who do you prefer between Dobbins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire? My answer at the beginning of the offseason was kind of split 50-50. I was going, hey, man, go get your guy. I really don't know what to say here. But after the offseason progresses, you see Baltimore bring back Gus Edwards through 2023. You see Kansas City let Damian Williams go. You see them let Le'Veon Bell walk. And you see them go significantly invest into the offensive line. And all of a sudden, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in a significantly better situation than he was in last year. J.K. Dobbins looking around going, hey, my offensive line's gotten downgraded. At the same time, the main guy stealing touches from me last year is still here, and he's actually getting an extension. So at this point, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the easy answer in Dynasty over J.K. Dobbins for me. And now the last player we're going to be bringing up, I know a lot of people are going to hate me to say this, but Travis Etienne. Now, no, we're not taking Travis Etienne straight up over J.K. Dobbins in Dynasty, but the great thing about it is you don't need to make that trade straight up. What you can actually do is you can trade away J.K. Dobbins for Travis Etienne plus a piece. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, but Mason, James Robinson's there, blah, 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 which is true. I mean, James Robinson probably going to be getting a similar type workload to Gus Edwards, and you're actually going to see J.K. Dobbins is in a much better offense this upcoming season. But what I like is I like that Travis Etienne is going to be getting those high-value touches. Travis Etienne is going to be getting the targets out of the backfield. He is most likely going to be getting the usage at the goal line. So if you can trade a J.K. Dobbins for Travis Etienne plus a piece, I think you kind of probably have to get creative with how you structured the deal by throwing in some tertiary pieces to kind of get someone a little off their game and not necessarily seeing the base structure of the trade. I think that's also something I would look to do. So go try to move J.K. Dobbins in Dynasty right now for one of Nashe Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Etienne plus another piece, because I think 12 months from now, you're going to be very happy that you decided to do so. Now, thank you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow. I want to thank everybody who has recently decided to join the flock in Alex, Jack, Bud, Kevin, Connor, Caesar, Jonathan, Joseph, Jordan, and James. Thank you, my dudes.